Hello folks, welcome to Papua New Guinea. This is just going to be a quick and dirty video taking a look at the type rating test in the relatively newly released AirHauler 2. AirHauler 2 has been in early access for quite a while, and the release version has just come out, so picked it up and I've been messing around with it a little bit. Actually, I haven't done much with it at all other than set up my new company and buy my Beaver here. AirHauler, if you're not familiar with the first version, is a flight sim add-on that allows you to run a charter, well, really any kind of operation you want in AirHauler 2. Anything from a small bush operator flying cargo into remote strips to charter passenger service to large scheduled passenger service if you want. My intent with my first company here is to fly a small bush operation in my Beaver up into the jungle strips in the Owen Stanley Range of Papua New Guinea to the remote villages along the Kokoda track. And that's what you're looking at behind me right there. That's the Kokoda Gap right there that goes up on into a very remote, rugged stretch of terrain in the middle of the Owen Stanley Mountain Range. And there's a whole bunch of beautifully rendered, sloping, bumpy, curved, short, challenging jungle airstrips rendered by ORBX. And my intent is to fly a cargo operation up into there. Now, if you're not, if you haven't used AirHauler 1, you know what? Don't even worry about that. We'll talk about that in a future video, maybe if I make some videos on this. The point of this one, I just wanted to record my type rating test. AirHauler 1 gave you the option of taking what they called a type rating test in every aircraft you bought. Obviously, you would not need a type rating in a single-engine reciprocating engine aircraft like this. But it was an optional thing. AirHauler 2 now, that test is mandatory. And so since I've just started out, just picked up my airplane, I am supposed to take a type rating test. So just thought if anyone was interested in what that looked like, I'll go ahead and record it. I have to assume it shouldn't be very hard. So we're sitting on the ground in Kokoda, Papua New Guinea, just on the east side of the Owen Stanley Range. It's a nice grass strip. It's long. It's well marked out. There are no nav aids or anything like that. This is purely visual flying. It's a nice day. Sitting right next to the coconut plantation here, you can see. A bunch of backpackers getting ready to strike out up onto the Kokoda track there. So, we'll go ahead and video this type rating test and see how we do. You can see from the AirHauler menu here, it's currently got me here, and it has already given me a message, which I can look at in the log here, that says, "Welcome to your AirHauler type rating flight. Start up and taxi your aircraft." So, that's what we'll do. I am assuming that it's going to give me further instructions as we go. I'm guessing just headings and altitudes, and we're just going to fly around for a little bit and then come back and land. So, let's do that. Go ahead and unpause the sim now. I think it gave me, I think it said about 60% fuel. You know, I forgot I had the version of the Beaver loaded with the GPS, we certainly don't need that. Nor will we want to use the autopilot. It beeps annoyingly at you, so I just pop the breaker and shuts that off. And how we doing on gas? Oh yeah, we got plenty. We'll start out in the center tank. That's where we're at. We'll turn the beacon on. AirHauler, even the original one, graded you on things. Every flight, it graded, of course, your landing. A hard landing created damage. But it also graded you on things like whether or not you remembered to turn your lights on appropriately and so on. So I don't know what all this type rating test consists of, but we'll try to do things correctly. Guess I should have had my brakes set. Certainly shouldn't need any carb heat. We're down here at sea level on this strip just about. Well, I guess not quite, but we will go ahead and leave the mixture full rich for this one anyway. Mixture leaning becomes really important to being able to get off the ground in some of those jungle strips up at higher elevation, but that won't be applicable today. Alright, so let's go ahead and start taxiing here. Get the flaps down for takeoff while we're at it. Alright, there's a message. There we go. Taxi and take off. Well, easy enough. You can see from the smoke the wind's almost calm. The windsock's just hanging there. Let's taxi down to the end of the runway here and spin around and take off to the north. Anybody is watching this because they followed my previous videos about the MilViz Beaver, which is what we're flying right now, you will know that I made a video about an updated flight model that allowed the tail to come up earlier on the takeoff run. Not using that because while that was more realistic in terms of being able to get the tail up early, I decided I didn't like the way the rest of the airplane, or the way the airplane flew in the rest of its flight model, so we're back to just considering this an airplane that has to be taken off in a tail-low attitude, landed in 3-point, and other than that it flies pretty well, so we'll just do that. So okay, here we are. Should I do a run-up? Do you think it cares? I doubt it cares. But I just want to get this out of the way, so do everything you would do on a run-up. If it's grading, great. Get a little prop cycle while we're at it. Alright, that oil in the prop hub is nice and warmed up. Light on. Strobes are on. Nav lights don't apply. Trim is set. Flaps are set. Off we go. Let me just do this since it's going to ask me to hold altitudes probably. Set up something kind of accurate here so we'll have a reference. Alright, here we go. Me to climb to 4,300 feet indicated. Jeez, really? Fine. Do I have to accept that or something? Okay, 4,300. And am I allowed to turn? I don't know. There's terrain in front of us. We can probably outclimb it, but alright, you know what? Go ahead and climb a little more aggressively. Well, I really thought this would be a very quick sort of a level off, turn this heading, go back and land. I hope I'm allowed to turn, because we may have to. It did not give me a choice as to where I wanted to take this type rating flight out of. I bought the airplane I had the airplane delivered to Kokoda when I bought it, and since that was my first base, and that's where it put me. Which is cool, except I hope it's not going to try to give me headings that fly me into the mountain. Alright, 3,300 for 4,300. One to go. Suppose we want to blow through our altitude here. Go ahead and leave the flaps at the climb cruise setting. Turn on to heading 035 and level out at 4,300. Heading 035. Turn on to heading 353 and level at 4,300. And level at 4,800 foot indicated. Alright, 351 and 4,800. We're topping the terrain here. Land at departure airport. Okay landing or better required. Okay, I'll do my best, sport. That was pretty painless.
Banking.
Oh my god. Really? Really? So that bank angle call, if that came through in the video, certainly isn't part of the Beaver. we don't have ChipWiz installed. So, that better not have caused me to just fail, or I'll be pissed. Alright, I think Kokoda's over here somewhere. Suck the flaps all the way up for a quick return back. Pull the prop back something more reasonable. there I see Kokoda. It's just to the left of the nose. You can recognize it by the dark area with sort of a distinctive shape of the coconut plantation. Coconut plantation is this dark area right here. That's the grass strip of Kokoda right there. So we'll just center left downwind, and we'll land to the north. And we'll do an 800-foot pattern. Thought we were at about 1,300 feet above sea level when we took off. It still feels high though. Yeah, just level off at 2, it'll be fine. If I have to, I'll slip us down. Maybe it'll yell at me again. So like I said, Air Hauler does grade your landing at destination airports, and you can break things, and things will just also randomly fail on you, aircraft systems. I mean, I had a flap failure once in Air Hauler 1 that actually turned into quite a bugger. I couldn't really land at any of the jungle strips, and yet they were stuck in an intermediate position, so I had to limp back to home base at a slower airspeed. Being up in the jungle strips, at least, landing rate is something you can easily screw up if you hit a bump in the runway just as you're trying to land. And I suppose there's an element of realism to that, though there is also something about the sloping jungle strips that is a little bit of a cheat. It almost makes it difficult for Air Hauler to dig you on too hard of a landing. I'll tell you about that if I ever make a video on a flight up into there. Point is, this landing in Kokoda, it's a nice, smooth, flat runway. It's long. We don't need to get aggressive. We don't need to slam it down. So we're just going to milk it. Hopefully a nice landing out of it. Air Hauler also keeps track of flap speeds, and if you drop the flaps too fast, it'll ding you on that as well. So make sure you're in the white arc. And the same is true of gear speeds or other operating limits you might have on your airplane that aren't really applicable to a Beaver, obviously. Yeah, we're a little high. Start coming down here. I believe the flaps at landing instead of full, too. Which is another luxury that you don't usually have in the jungle strips. You're slamming it on full flap landing. Yeah, I'm gonna stick us high here though, darn it. Alright, full flaps. And we'll try a little bit of a slip and see if he yells at me. Really? Apparently we do have JetBus.
Minimums.
Oh good, minimums. Runway in sight, landing.
100.
Really? Is it going to go 50, 40, 30? Oh jeez.
40, 30, 20, 10.
Even the 737 I fly at work doesn't do that. Landed. Landing was okay. Taxi and park. Really okay? I thought it was a little nicer than that. Well, I really hope that JetBus feature doesn't make calls every time I'm on approach to a jungle strip, or it's going to take quite a bit of immersion out of this. picturesque place to fly, though, and the combination of the ORBX scenery and the Rex texturing for the sky and the mountains, and the lighting, and the active sky weather. Where are we going? You can end up with a pretty immersive bush flying scenario, and if you've ever read anything about the actual bush flying, you know, that they do in real life up into these strips, there are some crazy stories if you ever talk to one of those guys. This airline's PNG Twin Otter that's sitting here is static scenery, but it is exactly what they fly into a lot of these strips. And some of these strips are too short for the twatter, but twatter goes into places that you would probably be freaked out landing your 172 the first time you saw them. Oh, this seems like as good a place as any here. This concludes the flight rating test. Please close flight sim. And Alt-Tab back to air hauler. And I don't know why the airplane's trying to start itself. We had some sort of weirdness there. So presumably I've passed, and I think it's going to give me some sort of a grade here. Here we go. Congratulations, you passed the flight test. You passed with no issues. Wow, no issues. Bank angle. I guess I passed, so it yelled at me, but didn't ding me. Well, isn't that special? There's the messages, and that's what we did. Finish flight monitoring. Here's the results. Okay. Okay, well, for what that's worth, if anyone was interested in seeing it, there it is. And I do think I might make another video. Maybe my first job hauling a couple runs of cargo up to the various jungle strips up in the up along the Kokoda track there. But until next time, we'll see you.